picture this. Two creators in the same niche, same audience size, same quality of content, basically everything the same, except their story strategy. One of them actually gets 5 times the amount of story views the other one gets, and it doesn't stop there. After 2 months, the creator with a higher story views continues to grow their overall reach and followers, while the other one's starting to lose steam pretty fast. This is not a hypothetical scenario, by the way. I've seen this actually firsthand with some of my clients, and the difference between these two is actually 3 fatal mistakes you are most likely making as well. And it's not just killing your story views. No, it's actually sabotaging your entire Instagram reach. So let me show you the biggest story mistakes you're probably unaware of. I'll show you also a way how you can get out of this low story reach limbo. And then I'll show you why probably the most common Instagram story hack that's regurgitated left and right out there might actually be the reason for all the bad engagement that you're getting. Let's get into it. Now, there's a few important things to know here. First of all, there is a separate story algorithm and a Reels algorithm. Actually more, but you get the idea. And they used to actually be separate from each other. So creating bad stories didn't necessarily mean bad reach on the Reels part. Unfortunately, my data shows that this has slightly changed recently, which basically means for you, consistently getting bad signals in your stories, aka low views, and I'll tell you in a second what to do about it, will also result in lower overall reach. Kind of bad. So what are these bad signals? Simply spoken, it's actually people not reacting to whatever you throw out there in its intended way, right? Remember that word. Meaning, do people watch until the end, the whole story until the end, or skip forward? Maybe they even exit out of the stories altogether. If you have the engagement sticker, for example, do people actually engage with the sticker, right? Do people hit that? Do people like your stories and maybe even reply to it? If yes, very good. You'll probably have high story views anyway, and you're just gonna exit out of this video. But if no, it's time to identify the ones that don't work for your audience and switch them out with some that actually do work. Easier said than done, but let me explain. So first of all, the most obvious being using the link sticker. Just recently, our old friend Maziri, the head of Instagram, has recently said that using this link sticker won't get your reach down. But it's actually a lie, to tell you the truth, because my data clearly shows me otherwise, and it's probably not because Instagram is actively suppressing link sticker reach, right? So it's probably, they don't even want that, so they say no. But because most people just can't be bothered to click a link sticker. I don't know, do you click them a lot? I don't want to click them. Don't ask me why, because it's weird and it opens up a browser within Instagram. So I just don't click it anymore as much as I used to. So yeah, and this is where the first major issue comes into play. Let's say you have a story, you have a link sticker in there. Let's say 50 people see it within the first 2 hours. One person clicks on the link, not a lot, obviously. And obviously the intention of having a story sticker, people click on that link. But if no one does, or if just one person out of the first 50 does, obviously Instagram will think, well, that's not the intention for this feature and nobody clicks on it. Let's just not give out more reach because it's kind of a failed use case. Why? Obviously, the same thing all over again. It's not making people happy, right? It kind of feels weird. The other thing behind link stickers not being the best thing you want to do is potentially sending people off of Instagram, right? So actually double minus for the link sticker in itself. And you probably even noticed it yourself. Let me know down below in the comments. If you have a link sticker in there, does your subsequent reach go down? Yes or not? I bet yes. Anyway, so there's one thing that actually does what the link sticker is supposed to do, and it helps more than, well, more than good, whatever. It's actually plugging in some DM automation into your content. So your story, for example, instead of using a link sticker. I'm sure you've seen it. I actually use it a lot. Basically, in your story, you say, DM me the word X, or comment the word X, because X is actually a word, and I'll send you X's, or I'll send you this, whatever it is. And by actually plugging in some officially endorsed software like ManyChat, the one that I actually use, you can actually automate that whole process, and it's not even bad. It's not considered to be a bot, quite the opposite, right? Because whatever you want to send out, let's say the link in this case, automatically gets sent from your account to the people replying the trigger word. And here's the very important thing, just implementing that alone helped the account, the creator from before, stabilized their story reach again because this actually does multiple things. Let me explain. First of all, nobody directly gets sent away right from the content. Instead, they actually get prompted to do an action that's on the platform, aka reply to your stories. And that's a good thing about it. The M's are the most important signal for the story algorithm these days because they show a very strong connection with the creator. And that connection actually gets even stronger because using this automation, your account will actually reply to this DM automatically, basically showing the algorithm that there's some genuine two-way interaction going on. The algorithm doesn't matter whether it's automated or not because it's from some officially endorsed software. So just that in itself will boost your overall story reach. And if you consistently do that, your whole account reach. Now, the second important part of this equation is basically the same as with Reels, is the story watch time. And it actually has more layers to it than you might think, because for stories, it doesn't just matter if people watch until the end, like for the Reels. It also matters whether people skipped it or even exited out of the stories altogether. So you actually want to optimize your stories for retention as best as possible as well. And I'll actually show you a way how to actually identify this in a second. But generally speaking, same rules basically apply as with Reels. If you speak in your stories, make sure you have captions or at least some sort of summary/hook type of text, just to make people turn on the audio and take a look at it, just to make people see what this whole thing is about. Because also, you might not know it, but most people actually watch the whole internet without audio on. The other easy quick fix is actually not having ultra long stories, right? People just don't have time for that, especially for these low effort type of stories. Low effort, and you know what I mean? Should be low effort, but you get the idea. In fact, I would even say that 15-second stories are most of the times too long for Instagram. Don't even think about creating 1 minute long stories. That's a new feature. It's not gonna end well. Just don't. So how do we actually know which stories get the most retention or get people to exit out the most? How can we optimize the story game to increase our story views again? Because that's what we want, right? Because story views, by the way, I forgot to mention that at the beginning, story views are generally down in the past months. Yeah, that's the reason for actually making this video, just so you're aware of it. But yeah, obviously how you do that through with analytics. And yeah, you might not believe me, but there are actually pretty sophisticated story analytics that we can dive into on Instagram. Not going to confuse you too much right here, but there's basically 5 important ones you want to keep an eye out for. First of all, the overall reach, obviously. The other thing being next story, basically if somebody skip to the next story, meaning the next creator. So skip your stories altogether. Forwards would just basically just skip one of your stories in your sequence. Back is actually something really good. If somebody goes back, means the story from before actually was pretty good. So you might want to track that as well. And obviously, one of the worst ones exited out, which means they exited the stories altogether, their story viewing session altogether. Which means you are bad. You do a bad job of creating stories, and you should be punished for that. And yeah, basically what you want to do with these analytics, you want to go back at least 1 year or maybe 2 years or 6 months, basically whatever you think fits the best, and try to spot any types of patterns in terms of which type of story consistently performed better than average, right? And also which one's the worst, obviously. And chances are actually very high that you'll find some interesting patterns just doing that alone. And once you've identified what I call your key story, aka consistently your best performing type of story, you want to make sure to always start your story of the day with one of these to get the reach ceiling as high as possible. Now, here's the kind of update about the story algorithm lately. It's not that important to always start with this anymore, since yeah, it kind of has shifted slightly. Yeah, that's the right way to say it. And yeah, you'll actually notice story views will trickle in throughout the whole 24-hour period. But yeah, it's still better if you kind of keep an eye on that. Now, tracking the reach and actually knowing how to track the reach is actually just a small part of the whole story game. There's not only the whole algorithm part you should know about, right? There's also the content part, and actually mixing these two together, because otherwise you'll just appear to be like a weird robotic kind of version of yourself, which is why I actually have decided to bundle some of the story deep dives from the IG Black file, my course basically, and my mentorship program together to form what I call the Instagram story playbook. I'll probably take this whole thing offline pretty soon, but for the next few days, link is down in the description. And if you're too late, you're probably going to be too late, but if you're actually too late, just send me a DM with IG stories on Instagram. And maybe you'll see the DM automation in action. We'll see. Now, if you remember the 2 creators we've talked about in the beginning, there was actually one more fatal mistake the one creator did that actually impacted the whole account. And all they did was to follow this common guru advice, which basically is post your reels to the stories because story views also count as engagement and you'll boost your reels reach as well. And here's what's up. Actually, this is sort of true, but this is not a good thing, contrary to what a lot of people think, because if you're a boring, bland creator who views their stories as a way of just getting more traffic over to your other content, as opposed to seeing stories as a valuable tool to get engagement and to connect with your existing audience, which is really, really important, you will potentially destroy your whole account. You will start this downward spiral. Basically, let me explain. Let's say you have a reel that's kind of cool and you post it to your story saying, check out my latest reel. Or even worse, you hide it with some sort of sticker. By the way, the same goes for just a regular post or even a carousel. Same thing. People are going to see that and they're not going to enjoy it. I mean, honestly, do you enjoy it if somebody just slaps a repost in their story without giving any type of context as to why I should actually care? I don't care what's behind the sticker. I don't want to watch this reel in your story because that's weird, right? Why should I even click? I don't have a reason. So give me a reason, god damn it. And it's essentially the same principle as with the links before, but even worse, because first of all, what's the purpose of sharing a reel in the story, right? Thinking about the Instagram algorithm, making people click on it to watch the full one. That's the only thing. That's the major point Instagram tracks when you repost a reel. Do people actually click on it to watch the full one? If not, which is probably the case if there's no context or build up leading towards the answer, basically, people are not going to click. So lots of minuses for you in terms of the Instagram algorithm on that part, ultimately cutting your story reach, right? Especially if you do it over and over again, you'll just see reach just tank more and more. Yeah. That's not all though, because also the metrics do actually count towards your reels metrics. And obviously, what are people most likely going to do? Which is a boring story slapped in there, right? Most likely swipe forward or exit out, giving really bad triggers also to the Reels algorithm. Even worse, right? Because these views from your stories that count towards your Reels are actually also from your followers, aka the people that should actually watch the longest. And the algorithm then just sees, well, not even their own followers react to the reel as they should. So let's not show it to anybody else outside of them anymore. And yeah, if that happens over and over again, all of your reach, especially your non-follower reach, will tank and you'll be really down in the bad spiral, basically. And then you basically come crying to me again, you know? And I have to be the asshole and break the news to you. So point being, whenever you decide to put reels in your stories, make sure to add lots of context, have a build up, right? Curiosity, anticipation, ideally over multiple stories to actually make them, first of all, watch the story all the way through and then click on it, right? And then once they click on it, watch the full reel and ideally even more, but we're not even gonna get into that. So if you do that, actually, you're gonna see quickly how your story reach and overall reach will start to rise again. Happens all the time to people who are in my programs. Now, if you've paid attention up until now, you're probably aware that same as for reels or carousels, the most important thing to nail down is the hook. Also with the stories, and that's something that almost everybody struggles with. And here's a video showing you actually one small thing you can fix almost instantly to make better hooks than the rest out there.